US car tariff on Malaysia down to 19%. Myanmar ends 4-year of state of emergency. Good afternoon and salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching World Today with me, Sahih. Malaysia has received a reduction in trade tariffs to 19%, down from the previous 25%, effective 1st August 2025. The 6% drop follows a new executive order signed by President Donald Trump. According to the White House, the revised tariff rate will take effect on August 7 and will apply to all goods entering the US for consumption, with limited exemptions for shipments already en route. However, no tariffs will be imposed if Malaysia or Malaysian companies choose to develop or manufacture products in the United States. For other ASEAN countries, Thailand, Indonesia, the Philippines and Cambodia will also face the same 19% tariff rate. Vietnam, meanwhile, has been given a higher rate of 20%, while Brunei remains at 25%. Myanmar and Laos face the highest rate at 40%, while Singapore is not included in this round of adjustments. Since April, Malaysia has been negotiating the tariff with Washington, aiming to reduce the earlier 24% rate. The latest round of talks was held on 18 June this year. The United States and Pakistan finalized a trade agreement on Thursday aimed at lowering tariff and increasing investment in key sectors, including energy, IT and mining. While Islamabad did not disclose specific tariff reductions, officials said the deal would enhance economic ties and help Pakistan compete with regional rivals like India and Vietnam. The agreement follows the suspension of a potential 29% US tariff on Pakistani goods, with the South Asian nation seeking more favorable terms to expand its $3 billion trade surplus with the US, largely driven by textile exports. CEO of Arif Habib Securities Limited, Shahib Habib, hailed the agreement as a game changer for Pakistan's economy, predicting a surge in US investment across energy, minerals and technology.
We have 1.2 billion of oil reserves. Out of that, 80% is consumed and 20% is remaining. So I think the areas like KPK, Sindh and Balochistan, the survey shows that there are immense opportunities available and reserves available over there where, US companies can invest and explore more and more oil reserves in Pakistan, and also other things as well. They can also go to minerals, they can also go to mining, for all these opportunities.
Meanwhile, Mexico has been granted a 90-day extension to negotiate a new agreement. President Claudia Sheinbaum announced this on Thursday, stating that the deal will help avoid the enforcement of a 30% tariff that was supposed to take effect this month. Sheinbaum explained that the delay protects the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement USMCA and ensures that goods complying with the pact remain exempt from the 25% tariff imposed by Trump earlier this year amid the fentanyl crisis. According to Mexico's Ministry of Economy, about 85% of the country's export meet the rules of origin under the USMCA. Both Sheinbaum and Barat emphasized that the extension helps maintain Mexico's status as one of the countries with the most privileged access to the US market. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Donald Trump had expressed his displeasure and disagreement with UK and France on recognizing a Palestinian state during a briefing on Thursday. The US president feels as though the move is rewarding Hamas.
But the president put out a very strong statement on Truth Social this morning, which I'm sure you saw, and he said the quickest way to end this entire conflict, the humanitarian crisis that we've seen, and the crisis in Israel that, of course, started on October 7th when Hamas brutally kidnapped and raped innocent Israelis, that terrible terrorist attack, is for Hamas to surrender, to release all of the hostages, and to end this conflict.
The three countries mentioned have announced plans to recognize Palestine with various caveats by the UN General Assembly in September amid the escalating humanitarian situation in Gaza. Both Israel and the US have accused them of rewarding Hamas. Gaza's health authorities said in a statement on Thursday that the Palestinian death toll in the Gaza Strip has risen to 60,239. Meanwhile, 146,894 others were injured since the conflict between Hamas and Israel erupted on 7 October 2023. The death toll since March 18 this year, following a brief ceasefire, has reached 9,071, while the number of injured stands at 34,853. The statement added over the past 24 hours alone, Israeli forces have killed 101 Palestinians in the enclave, including 81 who were trying to get humanitarian aid, and injured 625 others. Meanwhile, the Israel Defense Forces mentioned in a statement released on Thursday that one of its divisions had completed its operation in northern Gaza, destroying over 1,500 facilities and killing dozens of its fighters. Palestinian media outlets reported 58 people were killed and 579 others were injured while waiting to collect aid near Zakim in the northern eastern Gaza Strip. The Israeli army had not commented on the alleged strike, and it had previously strongly denied hitting civilians. Gaza residents mourn those killed in an alleged Israeli strike near an aid distribution site at the Zakim crossing in northwest Gaza Strip. Footage filmed at Al-Shifa Hospital on Thursday shows residents crying, and they could also be seen performing funeral prayers.
مين واقف معانا؟ عفوا احنا ما بدنا مساعدات تفوت لنا، احنا بدنا حدا يقول لنا يا جماعه بدنا هدن، يا جماعه احنا بدنا ناس تقف معانا، ناس تقف بجنب قلب ورب، مش واحد كل يوم نودع شهيد، كل يوم يا اخي يا اخت يا حدا بروح منا، حرام هذا ليش حرام.
There has been widespread international condemnation of the humanitarian situation, with Israel announcing a tactical pause for aid deliveries and airdrop this week. Israel has denied starvation or a policy of starvation is taking place. The UAE had carried out airdrops in Gaza for the 5th consecutive day on Thursday, bringing the total to 58 as part of Operation Gallant Night 3. The operation was carried out in coordination with Jordan's Operation Birds of Goodness, with the aim of delivering urgent relief to areas that are difficult to reach by land. Footage shows an Emirati plane drop 8 packages into the Nusrat area of the central Gaza Strip on Thursday. The aircraft releasing the packages before they parachuted down and were collected by locals. The locals urged the world to provide more to ease the escalating humanitarian situation. The UAE also brought 41 new trucks into the Gaza Strip, including 12 loaded with medical supplies for the World Health Organization, as well as trucks carrying essential food supplies. It brings the total amount of aid airdrops since the initiative began to over 3,787 tons of food and relief supplies delivered via 197 aircraft. Israel has launched a series of massive airstrikes across Lebanon, including the Bekaa Valley, Baalbek, and the southern region of Gaza, violating the ceasefire agreement signed with Hezbollah last November. According to Lebanon's national news agency, at least 7 airstrikes targeted towns in the Bekaa Valley and the mountainous areas of Baalbek in the east and northeast, far from the southern border with Israel. More than 60 people were killed and over 120 injured, including women and children, making it one of the deadliest attacks since the conflict began in 2023. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun reiterated his call for Hezbollah to disarm and hand over its weapons to the Lebanese army. He also demanded the immediate withdrawal of the Israeli forces from Lebanese territory, the release of prisoners, and a halt to Israel's airstrikes and targeted killings. Hezbollah, however, insisted that disarmament will only be considered once Israel fully withdraws and stops its attacks. Hezbollah leader Sheikh Naim Qasim described that disarmament demand as surrendering to Israeli pressure. The conflict between Israel and Hezbollah began in October 2023 when the group launched attacks in solidarity with Hamas in Gaza. Myanmar's junta leader Min Aung Hlaing announced the end of the country's state of emergency on Thursday and stepping up preparations for Myanmar's general election that will be held between December and January, citing ongoing security concerns. According to local media reports, the announcement was made during a meeting with national defense and security chiefs. No exact date for the poll has been announced by the junta, but political parties are being registered and training sessions on electronic voting machines have taken place. On the same day, the military made a partial transfer of power to a civilian-led interim government in preparation for the planned election. However, Min Aung Hlaing remains the country's de facto leader through his role as acting president. An official statement reported that the decree granting the military full control following the 2021 coup has been revoked. A temporary administration and a special commission to oversee the election have also been established. Meanwhile, analysts predicted rebels will stage offensives around the election as a sign of their opposition. Coming up next, more than 100 members of ex-PM Imran Khan's party jailed in relation to the 2023 riots. After paving over the Rose Garden and adding gold leaf in the Oval Office, US President Donald Trump will embark on his most dramatic addition to the White House, yet a new $200 million ballroom to be built adjacent to the mansion's East Wing. Trump, a former real estate developer with penchant for decorating, has long complained the White House lacked a large-scale ballroom for entertaining. The White House announced plans to break ground in September on the project, which could prove to be the most extensive one since Harry Truman completed an entire renovation in 1952. The White House was originally finished in 1800 and partially rebuilt after being burned by the British during the War of 1812. White House Press Secretary Kerana told reporters that work on the 90,000 square foot facility will be completed long before Trump's 4-year term ends in January 2029. She said the $200 million cost of the ballroom, which will be able to seat 650 people, will be donated by Trump and other donors. As if to reassure traditionalists, the White House said the theme and architectural heritage will be almost identical to the rest of the house. A Pakistani anti-terrorism court on Thursday sentenced more than 100 members of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan's party to prison terms on charges related to riots that targeted military sites in 2023. 58 of the defendants, who included parliamentarians and senior officials, were sentenced to 10 years in prison, and the rest were given sentences ranging from 1 to 3 years. The accused include Omar Ayub Khan and Shibli Faraz, the leaders of Khan's opposition Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party PTI, in the lower and upper houses of parliament respectively. Khan, who has been in prison since 2023 facing charges of corruption, land fraud and disclosure of official secrets, is being tried separately on similar charges related to the riot. The government accuses him and other leaders of inciting the May 9, 2023 protests, during which demonstrators attacked military and government buildings, including the army headquarters in Rawalpindi. He denies wrongdoing and says all the cases are politically motivated as part of a military-backed crackdown to dismantle his party. Khan's arrest had prompted the country-wide violent protests. Thursday's ruling does not directly affect the incitement case against him, in which prosecution is still presenting witnesses. The PTI party said it will challenge the verdict. Residents in the southwestern Chinese city of Chongqing sought refuge in subway stations on Thursday as temperatures soared to 41.5 degrees Celsius, prompting authorities to issue a red alert for extreme heat. At the Hong Yang Kun subway station, people gathered to escape the sweltering heat, chatting, napping and playing cards in the cool air-conditioned space. Tourists were also seen cooling off at fountains, under mist sprayers and beneath a canopy made of hundreds of decorated bamboo hats. An infrared thermometer recorded a surface temperature of 54 degrees Celsius at a tourist site.
现在40几度，这里很凉快，真的是很凉快。这些市民一知道的话，全部都要过来。
从酒店刚出来，重庆那边的时候，出来之后就身上就已经是湿透了。但是我在我们辽宁那边，可能就是得走一段路，或者是因为它早晚的温差比较大，我们那边早晚的温差比较大，早上的时候特别凉爽。过到11点、12点左右天气开始热。这边不一样，这边晚上和白天都是非常的热，没有空调，晚上的时候根本就睡不了觉。
Thousands of Croatians lined the streets of the capital Zagreb on Thursday to watch a military parade celebrating the 30th anniversary of Operation Storm, a 4-day military offensive which ended the 1991 to 1995 war in Croatia. On the morning of 4th August 1995, the Croatian army unleashed a wide artillery and infantry offensive to seize back territory held for 4 years by rebel Serbs. It began with shelling the main Serb towns in the UN-protected Nin Krajina region, a horseshoe of mountain terrain stretching from south of Zagreb almost to the Adriatic. The offensive, which involved 100,000 men, was launched from Sisa and Karlovac in the north and made gains around Oktakak and Gospic further south. Soon, the Krajina Serb capital of Nin was burning under steady Croatian artillery and missile onslaught that sent citizens into air raid shelters. Krajina Serbs retaliated with their own barrage. In less than 4 days, the Croatian army retook the whole territory of Krajina, causing some 200,000 Krajina Serbs to flee to neighboring Bosnia and Serbia. The capture of the rebel stronghold of Nin on 5th August was the pinnacle of the operation and was later declared a national holiday in Croatia. Serbia regards the operation as an act of ethnic cleansing, as only a fraction of Serbs who fled the territory were later allowed to return to their homes in Croatia. Egypt's Suez Canal Authority chairman said on Thursday that the strategic waterway remains the most important and irreplaceable route for global trade despite the ongoing disruption to global shipping caused by Houthi attacks in the Red Sea and Bab al-Mandab Strait. Its chairman Osama Rabi said there is no alternative to the Suez Canal, but mentioned that the Cape of Good Hope is a substitute route but not a sustainable one. Speaking at a press conference in Ismailia during celebrations marking the anniversary of the Suez Canal nationalization, Rabi said the authority had engaged early with global shipping companies and maritime organizations to assess the fallout from the attacks.
إن ما نشهده اليوم من إنجازات عملاقة ومشروعات غير مسبوقة تثبت كل يوم أن قناة السويس ورغم كل التحديات التي تواجهها ستبقى الممر الملاحي الأهم عالميا وتصبح بحق ممر يستعصى على المنافسة.
Yemen's Houthi have hit more than 100 ships between November 2023 and December 2024 in what they said was a show of solidarity with the Palestinians in the war in Gaza. In what they call Phase 4 of their military operations, the Houthis said they would target any ships belonging to companies that do business with Israeli ports, regardless of their nationalities. Apple on Thursday reported sales and profit that far surpassed expectations, showing that its efforts to reroute its sprawling global supply chain away from US President Donald Trump's trade war have so far succeeded. Apple said it earned $94.04 billion in revenue for its fiscal third quarter ended 28th June, up nearly 10% from a year earlier and beating analysts' expectations of $89.54 billion. Apple shares were up about 2% in after-hours trading. Sales of iPhone, the company's best-selling product, were up 13.5% to $44.58 billion. Apple has been shifting production of products bound for the US, sourcing iPhones from India and other products such as Mac and Apple Watches from Vietnam. Still, the company had warned investors that US tariff could cost it $900 million in the fiscal third quarter, and it trimmed its annual share buyback program by $10 billion, a move analysts viewed as helping to free up cash to remain nimble in uncertain times. The ultimate tariffs many Apple products could face remain in flux, and many of its products are currently exempt. Amazon.com forecast third quarter sales above market estimates on Thursday, but failed to live up to lofty expectations for its Amazon Web Services cloud computing unit after rivals handily beat expectations. Shares fell by more than 2% in aftermarket trading after finishing regular trading up 1.7% to $234.11. Both Google, parent Alphabet and Microsoft posted big cloud computing revenue gains earlier this month. AWS profit margins also contracted, with Amazon saying they were 32.9% in the second quarter, compared with 39.5% in this year's first quarter and 35.5% a year ago. AWS, the cloud unit, reported a 17.5% increase in revenue to $30.9 billion. The company expects total net sales to be between $174.0 billion and $179.5 billion in the third quarter. Both Microsoft and Alphabet cited massive demand for their cloud computing services to boost their already huge capital spending, but also noted they still face capacity constraints that limited their ability to meet demand. AWS represents a small part of Amazon's total revenue, but it is a key driver of profits, typically accounting for about 60% of Amazon's overall operating income. Still to come in sports, Galatasaray signs Osimhen in Turkish football record-breaking deal. Olympique Marseille have signed former Arsenal and Chelsea forward Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang on a free transfer, the League One club said on Thursday. After spending a season in Saudi Arabia, the 36-year-old has returned to Marseille, having earlier joined the club on a free transfer in 2023. The France-born Gabon international had signed a 2-year deal in July 2024 with newly promoted Al Qadsiya, but terminated the contract earlier this month. Aubameyang ended the 2023-24 season with 30 goals in all competitions, becoming the first Marseille player to reach that tally since Didier Drogba 2 decades earlier. At Marseille, the former Arsenal player will have the opportunity to return to the Champions League, which he has not played in since 2022, and to rediscover a familiar environment. During his first spell at the club in 2023 to 2024 season, the right-footed forward wasted no time in winning over the Velodrome, not least because of his impressive statistics, scoring 30 times in 51 appearances, including 10 goals in the Europa League, which made him the competition's top scorer. Aubameyang also set himself apart with 11 assists. Galatasaray have signed striker Victor Osimhen on a permanent deal from Serie A, side Napoli for €75 million. The Super League champions announced the matter on Thursday in a deal that makes the Nigerian the most expensive incoming transfer in Turkish football. Osimhen's transfer shattered the previous record set by Fenerbahce when they signed Yusuf En-Nesyri from Sevilla on a 5-year contract for €20 million in July last year. As part of the agreement, 10% of any future profit from Osimhen's next transfer will be paid to SSC Napoli. According to the agreement, the 26-year-old will receive a net guaranteed salary of €15.0 million for each season. Osimhen will also get a new loyalty bonus of €1.0 million per season and €5.0 million as image rights payments, compensating for the use of his name, image and likeness in the club's branding and promotional activities. Osimhen has been linked with a move away from Napoli last year, but the Nigeria international had seen a permanent move collapse on a deadline day of the closed season transfer window. He subsequently joined Galatasaray on loan for the 2004 to 2024 season, where he delivered in an outstanding campaign with 37 goals and 8 assists in 41 appearances across all competitions, leading them to a 25th Turkish league title. Alex Michelsen earned his second top 10 win on Thursday at the National Bank Open presented by Rogers, where he upset world number 6 Lorenzo Musetti 3-6, 7-6, 6-4 to reach the fourth round at an ATP Masters 1000 event for the first time. With his 2-hour, 32-minute win, Michelsen improved his top 10 record to 2-6, having defeated the then number 9 player Alex de Minaur in Los Cabos last season. The 20-year-old American lost the first set and was being outplayed by the dynamic Italian for the first 90 minutes of action on centre court. However, Michelsen began to land bigger blows off the forehand wing to trouble Setia, who also coughed up 16 unforced errors in the third set. Michelsen squandered 2 match points on the Musetti serve at 3-5 and then blew a 40-love lead on his own serve, with the Italian saving the final match point in that run with a scorching backhand winner. However, the world number 34 stayed composed, saying 2 break points before sealing victory on his 7th match point. Into the 4th round, the 26th Michelsen will next meet close friend Lerner Tien. Meanwhile, in the women's draw, top seed Coco Gauff battled her way into the Canadian Open last 16 in Montreal on Thursday, staging a comeback to see off Russian Veronika Kudermetova. The American world number 2 lost the opener and found herself an early breakdown in the second before fighting back to take the set and rounding out a 4-6, 7-5, 6-2 victory. Gauff survived hitting 14 double faults before taking the win in 2 hours and 32 minutes. After losing her first career meeting with Kudermetova, Gauff has now won their last 3 encounters on tour. The 21-year-old Gauff is the youngest player to register 10 career match wins at this tournament since Justin Hein in 2003. Gauff will next face either local wildcard Victoria Mboko or Marie Buzakova of the Czech Republic for a place in the quarterfinals. The American is now a win away from making her 4th Omnium Bank National quarterfinal in her 5 tournament appearances. 4 times Formula One world champion Max Verstappen on Thursday has ended speculation about a move to Mercedes next season by confirming for the first time that he will race on with Red Bull. Formula One starts a new engine era next year in a major shake-up that could change the pecking order, with Mercedes expected to lead the way while Red Bull are making their own power unit after a split with Honda. Reigning champion Verstappen has known break clauses in his contract, but they have not been triggered, with the 27-year-old third in the 2025 F1 standings at the midpoint and with 2 wins from 13 races. It was widely accepted in Formula One that Verstappen would be staying, with the rumour mill already turning to a possible exit from Red Bull in 2027, with performance clauses again applying next year. Verstappen otherwise has a Red Bull contract that runs through 2028. The sacking of Christian Horner this month as Red Bull team boss was also widely seen as another step by the energy drink company to convince the sport's most sought-after driver to stay with them. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff said last week that retaining his current lineup of George Russell and Italian Kim Antonelli was a priority. That wraps up World Today this time around. In our top story, US cuts tariff on Malaysia down to 19%. For business news updates, do join us again tonight at 8:30 p.m. and on TV1 or saluran Berita RTM. Till then, I'm Sahih Samsudin, Malaysia Madani, Rakyat Disantuni.